Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Happiness. I am hoping you're having a wonderful day today. As promised, today is part two of my attachment style series. And today we're going to go through all of the tips on how to heal your attachment style. So, if you have not listened to my previous episode, I would highly suggest you go back and listen to that. The only caveat to that is I guess if you already know your attachment style and you already know about the stuff and you're just learning on like how to heal it, then I guess you could skip it. But other than that, I mean, it's still probably going to be interesting to listen to. So I would suggest going back, listening to that one before you dive into this one. So hope you're having a beautiful night. I'm recording this on Saturday. Be honest, it's fucking cold in here. We're trying to save up propane right now because propane's expensive and it's been like in the negatives here at night. So we've been going through it a lot. So right now I'm trying to like save some got the heat down. It's a little bit warmer today, so it's not too bad, but it's still cold. So just thought I would throw that out there. So sorry, I digress. But let's dive into it, shall we? I do have notes here again, if you know me, you probably know personally, if you know me, that I don't tend to do notes very often. But for these attachment style episodes, I have wrote down some notes, and I think it's good to do this sometimes because at least you don't forget anything, right? So if you hear papers rumbling or you're watching the visual on YouTube, just know that that's what it is, okay? So the first thing about attachment styles, again, go back and listen to the last episode if you want to like know all about them. But I want to let you guys know that they can change. They're not like linear. They're kind of fluent. They can change depending on what kind of a relationship we're in. We all strive to be securely attached, right? So we all strive to have that safety, that security with us. And we can get earn secure. It's called earn secure attachment. And it's when you basically heal your insecure attachment style and you're now like feel more secure. And we're going to get into all of that. But I just want you to understand that they can change depending on who you're with. So, for example, you might be somebody who's like 75% anxious attached because again, there's also percentages like I didn't really talk about that before, but a lot of times you're not like fully one thing. You're not like 100%, right? So you might be, say, 75% anxious attached, and then you start to date somebody who is very anxious attached also. You might become a little bit more of an avoidant. And this actually happened to me a couple years ago. I was just kind of briefly talking to a man, and I was very severely anxiously attached to people. And I could tell, was very, and I was going through some personal development stuff anyway. So I was starting to heal it. And I started talking to him. And I remember he would like, if I didn't text him back within an hour, he was texting me, well, I guess you don't want to talk to me anymore, being very passive because that's what we do as anxiously attached people. We become very passive. And he would like not, he would say things like that. And I remember I became extremely like, I didn't want, like, it got longer and longer between when he would text me and when I would respond because so I became more of an avoidant person because he was so anxiously attached and it was turning me away from him. So I just wanted to kind of give that example to let you all know that these can change, okay? Um so let's dig into all of this stuff and I'm really excited. So the first thing is I want to reiterate this. I talked about it in the last podcast, but if you are in a relationship where you are an anxious person, your partner's avoidant, or vice versa, which is called the anxious avoidant trap, which tends to happen very frequently, it's going to be really hard to heal these wounds. It's not impossible. I don't want to be sounding like dire here, but it is not impossible, but it's going to be extremely hard because you're constantly going to be activating each other. It would be best if you can do it, but you both have to be aware of what's going on. You have to really work hard at this, and that's going to be really hard for the avoidant person. It's really hard for them to understand that something is going on. And I'll get to that here in a minute. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that it is going to be difficult, okay? Um, it's really good if one of the best things for both of these people is to have somebody in their life who is securely attached. Now, this doesn't have to be a relationship. It's awesome if it can be a relationship, like a romantic relationship. If you can be dating somebody who's more securely attached, it's going to help you a lot. However, if you're later in life, like I am, I've talked all this before, the dating pool of securely attached people, unless they've worked on it and got that earned secure attachment, is very low. So it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. Like it could also be a friend in your life who's very secure, who can help you, right? I just wanted to kind of say that. So remember, I will reiterate this too. Being securely attached involves trusting, it involves feeling safe, having healthy boundaries, and effective communication. It's overall feeling safe within your body. And that is what we all strive to get to. Okay, so let's talk about how to do it. We're going to start with the anxiously attached people. And what are some tips I can give you? So, um, this is just, again, I also want to say this is just brushing the surface here because, like, to actually take you through a lot of this stuff, it would involve a lot more. It would involve a lot more than just like a half hour long or even an hour long podcast. So I am just grazing the surface with this information. Let me know if you like it, if it resonates. I'll try to make some more like this, maybe do something else in the future. Leave a review, let me know, okay? So for anxiously attached people, again, they know something is wrong. These people are actually, it's a lot easier for them to probably heal eventually because they know something is wrong. They are aware that it is not common and it is not normal to feel anxiety every time you talk to somebody of the opposite sex. And they understand this, but they don't understand why. Many people aren't aware of attachment styles. uh when I first found out about this stuff, I was like blown away and I was so excited to know that I wasn't as crazy as I thought I was, that there was a reason I was going through the things I was going through. So these people are very eager to get help. Um, a lot of people out there will tell you that, oh, the best way is through therapy. And I'm not saying therapy doesn't work because it is a really good way to heal this because what you need in your life more than anything is you need like a secure person, a secure base who you can talk to, who's not going to judge you and who's going to be there. Um, but I will also say that the thing is, and I hate it when people say, "Oh, just go to therapy or find a good therapist because that's what you need." Yeah, I understand therapy can work for people and it does work for people. Very, very helpful. However, not everybody has the means to a therapy. Like not all insurances cover it. Therapy can be extremely expensive. Not all people are just able to do it. And so when people are out there in the coaching world or in the self-help world and personal development world are constantly saying, "Oh, find a therapist," sometimes it's not as easy as they make it sound because, sometimes people just can't do it. So I don't want to talk about that. Yes, it can be helpful. We all know this, but let's talk about ways you can heal it without the therapy, okay? Um, the fact of the matter is that you are going to need support. So again, finding a secure person in your life who you can speak with, okay? The first step, though, to healing any anxious attachment style issues is going to be working on your anxiety because anxiety is the cornerstone. It's actually the cornerstone to either of these insecure attachment styles. Avoidance are the same way, they just aren't aware of it. But for anxious people, they are aware of it. And so, what is anxiety? Let's talk about what anxiety is for a second. Anxiety starts from an experience, oftentimes in early childhood, but it can also be an experience that we have throughout our experiences growing up or in life, even in our adult life, different experiences we have. Those experiences, of course, normally negative experiences are going to create all of this. So they have a negative experience with something. That experience creates a thought. Those thoughts form themselves into belief patterns. That belief is what creates the anxiety. So you have an experience, somebody abandoned you, a father abandoned you as a child, you had inconsistent parenting, you had many relationships where the men either cheated, they weren't there for you, they left you, they abandoned you, whatever it is, that experience creates these thoughts. These thoughts are constant in your brain. It starts to form a belief. You now have a belief that everybody you meet is going to leave you. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. That all causes anxiety. That is the cornerstone of what anxiety, not just in attachment styles and not just in relationships, but that is what anxiety is. And I actually might just come out with a whole other podcast about anxiety because I could talk a lot about that subject. So we'll see in the future. Let me know if you want to hear that. So, That is what anxiety is. So, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this anxiety that we have in our bodies, especially when it comes to relationships? Well, the first step I have for you is you have to develop self-awareness. So, what does that mean? You have to develop the awareness that, you are having these anxiety issues. You want to become aware of your triggers that you're having. Awareness is the cornerstone and the key to everything because we can't even heal anything in our lives without becoming aware of it. And that goes for anything in life. So, especially this, you have to become aware of your triggers. Um, Again, therapy can help, but it's not necessary for this aspect. Journaling can also help. I'm throwing this out there. Let me just start this by saying I'm not a big journaler. I guess I do kind of journal. This podcast is kind of like journaling in a way. But I feel like there's all kinds of different ways of journaling. I am not a big like writer journaler. I don't know if those two words go together, but I'm not big on that because my brain almost works too fast for my hand to write. So, sometimes I think journaling can be like just talking, but just getting it out. There is something to be said for putting pen to paper. It can be helpful. I have journaled in the past. Don't get me wrong. It's just not something that I've been like super huge on, but it can absolutely help to figure out like where your triggers are coming from. Where are they coming from? Why are you feeling this way? Another way with this is just sitting with yourself. Okay. If you're not a journaler like me, sit with yourself. Kind of feel like where are these triggers coming from? Where is all of these emotions coming from in my body? Why am I feeling this way? If you are into the journaling, you could also write down like why you're feeling a certain way, and then you can kind of reframe it and like look at what you wrote down. Like, why is this statement not true? Why is this thing not even true? Like, what should I be feeling instead? Write all that down. That can actually be really helpful just to kind of develop that self-awareness, right? Um, so the next tip is emotional regulation. What does this mean? Well, this means just dealing with your anxiety, basically. How do we get ourselves out of that fight or flight mode? How do we learn how to get out of that anxiety, especially when we're completely triggered? Um, Self-soothing techniques are going to be really, really helpful. Meditation has been extremely helpful for me in learning how to relax and learning how to self-soothe myself. EFT tapping, which stands for emotional freedom technique. Again, I don't have time to go into all of that and show you how to do that. I might just make like a video on that and put it out for whoever wants to see it eventually, I can take you through like tapping techniques. This is very, very helpful. Another thing, like basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to come into your body and by touching your body. And so EFT tapping is meridian point. So yeah, I'm actually doing it right now, but you can't see it if you're listening to the podcast. But you're tapping different points on your body and you're saying different phrases. So again, it's just feeling safe in your body and doing these techniques while saying the phrases can help you're basically rewiring your nervous system and you're basically helping your nervous system calm down. Something else that I've used in the past, like I tend to wear hair ties around my wrist. You can use a rubber band, anything else that you want, and I will kind of like flick it. So I'll like pull it off my wrist and just flick it against my wrist. And I have said statements such as I am safe in my body. Um, I am calm. I am at peace. Just when you're saying those statements and you're also doing motions against your body, it can help you feel it can just help calm your nervous system. That's what it's all about. So those are some self-soothing techniques you can do. Also just taking care of yourself also, right? It's just also a self-soothing technique. So anything like that, another good tip for that is like putting your hand on your heart and saying words like that. I am safe in my body. I am loved. I am at peace. Just feel like being able to self-soothe yourself so that you aren't looking for the outside validation to help and soothe you, because that's what happens when you're activated is you're looking for the outside validation, and you're looking for outside things to make you to help you soothe. You never learned self-soothing techniques as a child, so now you're looking for everybody else to help and soothe you. Excuse me. When you can honestly just do it yourself. Everything you have is already inside of you. You just need to tap into that awareness and those techniques. Strengthening, the next step I have is strengthening your self-worth. So developing your self-worth. This is honestly it's a little bit more challenging, I think, because many of us not even just with attachment styles, but many people in the world have this like worthiness wound. And so you developing self-worth can take a lot of practice. Um, Focusing on strengths is one of the things that I've learned. I actually, and this was not my technique, but it was somebody I learned from. Her name was Ali Nympho, and I learned it in a course I took with her. And it was actually really helpful for me, but writing down attributes that you like about yourself. So finding positive attributes about yourself that are really good, just like, and you can do this. You can ask if it's hard for you to come up with them on your own, you can ask your friends, hey, what do you like about me? What do you think is unique? What do you think is special about me? A lot of them will be able to tell you. Um, Things like that, and just writing those down and then connecting those to memories. So doing this can be really helpful because it can develop those self-worth like beliefs. So for example, if I want to say I'm really smart, okay, I want to put down I'm smart. um I'm gonna look and I'm gonna connect that to a memory. Well, I graduated my nursing school at the top 10% of my class. Okay, that's a memory that I know I'm smart because I was able to do that. Boom, I write it down on my list. I've connected it to a memory. Now I know that that's true. I can feel worthy, and you can do this with anything, just little micro moments, anything small. This can be really helpful to help you develop your self-worth. Setting personal goals, like even if they're small goals, and then achieving them can also develop your worth. For me, it's this podcast. Like I actually didn't even expect it. I have it on my board. It's behind the computer screen, so you can't see it. It's on my, like, I have a goal setting like board whiteboard back here. And one of my goals on there is to upload podcasts. And then underneath of that, I have all the things that I need to do in order to get that accomplished. I had on my goal board here that I wanted to upload it by February 1st. Well, it's been uploaded for a couple weeks now. This is like my what is this? My fourth episode? Yeah, fourth. This will be my fourth episode going out on Monday. So, this is a goal that I set for myself. I have accomplished, and then I'm gonna erase it from my board because I need to do that. I've already accomplished this goal. That like helps develop my self-worth because it was a goal I set for myself that I was able to accomplish. So, it doesn't have to be that big though. It can literally be micro moments here. I'm going to walk for 5 minutes every day, in my house, like out on my sidewalk, wherever it is. Like, and you do that thing and like you've accomplished that goal. It can be so powerful in developing your self-worth. Um, just activities that make you feel good, right? Even, and again, this can be little things like I have taken up cooking lately. Like I have been doing that for a while. It makes me feel good to, feed my family like healthy, good home cooked meals. And so, yeah, that can help develop your self-worth also because again, with anxious attachment, with any attachment style, really, the insecure ones, a lot of it is just a self-worth issue. And we just go about it in different ways. So this can really help you develop those strengths. Um, Learn how to communicate your needs. You know, Learning how to communicate your needs is really difficult because you are afraid that people are going to leave you. So learn how to express your feelings calmly and clearly. One of the things that I have found very powerful here is when you use statements such as I feel. So if you're having a disagreement with a partner or something like that, and you use the statement, this is how I'm feeling right now, and then you communicate like what you're feeling, what will happen is it takes the blame off of them. You're not attacking them. You're just stating how you're feeling in the moment. Again, this can be extremely hard. This can be done in little micro moments, because you can't just assume that your partner knows what you need or knows what you want, right? So you can do this in micro moments and you can practice this. This is why it's really actually important to have people who are securely attached in your life. And you can actually practice this with them. If something happens, you can be like, this is how I'm feeling and see how they react. And just very small moments. This does not have to be huge wins right now. Okay. You're just learning how to do all of this stuff so you can start to heal your anxious attachment issues. Um, Having healthy boundaries, learning how to tolerate space within a relationship, that can be extremely helpful. Understand that independence doesn't mean rejection. It doesn't, and just being aware of those thoughts. I will go back to the thoughts thing because being aware of those thoughts that you're having can be super, super helpful here. It can be really helpful because you can realize like, okay, I'm having this thought right now. Why am I having this thought? And learn how to like manage that, okay? Again, I've got here in parentheses or in like big bold letters, surround yourself with support, good supportive people. You know, I have another story. One of my friends actually, I have not dated somebody who's securely attached. Every relationship I've had has been avoidantly attached people. And that has, again, that was experiences that then created a thought that then created a belief within myself. So then I formed this anxiety. Well, what happened was, again, this is why it doesn't have to be relationships. I have a friend, I still have a friend that who's amazing, right? And she has taken the test before. She is securely attached. So we had a disagreement one time. And um when we had this disagreement, I felt the need, like, okay, I need to let her know about how I'm feeling. So I sent her this big long message. It was like such a minor disagreement, right? About how I was feeling. I used the words how, I feel. And I was terrified. I was so terrified that she was going to like abandon me, that she wasn't going to be my friend anymore, that she was going to be mad, all of these things. Totally was like that is not even what happened. She was so respectful, so genuine, so understanding. She explained, I did not mean to make you feel this way. I'm so sorry. She was just so sweet and so loving. And that is actually one of the things that probably really did catapult me to like to getting earned secure attachment because having that person, even just a friend, so this can be a platonic person in your life, but having that person who like understands you because she wasn't avoiding, right? She's very securely attached. So she didn't have those avoidance tendencies. This is why it's hard if you're dating somebody who's avoidant because like that might not work with them because they have such avoidant tendencies. They're not going to be as receptive. She was super receptive and it was really just very helpful. The other little last, this is just one little tip that I like have thrown in here because I think it can be really important. If you're in the dating world, so I'm not technically right now, I've just been focusing on myself and working on like, building businesses and podcasts and all that stuff. I'm trying to do all of that. So, but if you are in the dating world, and I have this for when I do decide to date again, um, one of the things I think that is really important for all of us to do too is write down your must-haves in a relationship. So if you're about to go on a date, or even if you're not dating right now, maybe just write this down for future use. Write down what your must-haves are in a partner. So if you're gonna date somebody, what are your must-haves for them? So for me, one of those is you must be on a spiritual path. Like you got to have some spirituality in your bones. If you're not, if you think all that is woo-woo and crazy and you're not even interested, like that's a no. That's a hard no for me. I can't do that. Because I know that's not nothing bad about them, but like that's not aligned with who I am or what I want. So if I met somebody and they weren't on a spiritual path, then I know like you don't have to be mean. Like at the end of the date, you don't have like you're going on the date, you're talking, you find out this person's not for you, because they aren't spiritual or whatever. Like you don't have to leave the date right then and be like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm done. You can finish having a nice conversation with a person, but then it's just, after that, you just don't talk. If they try to reach back out to you, you can nicely tell them, I just don't think that we're aligned. This isn't what I'm looking for. I wish you the best, whatever. Like you can be very nice about it. You don't have to be mean. But just writing down your must-haves and sticking to those. Because what happens with anxiously attached people is we go out and then we start to get wrapped up. I mean, and it can be the very first date, and you start to get wrapped up with the person you're talking to, and before you know it, their likes are becoming your likes, and their beliefs are becoming your beliefs, and their wants are becoming your wants, et cetera, et cetera. And then you almost don't even know who you are at the end of the date because you're so wrapped up in it. So just having a clear idea of what you want out of a partner, what are your must-haves, what can you live with, what can you not live with, and finding that kind of stuff out. I think it's okay to have some semi-deep conversations at the beginning. That's just my belief on that one, but that's just something that I find very helpful. So I hope you guys on the anxious side found that very helpful. Let's move on to the avoidance now, shall we? So again, these people, I've said this before, I'll say it again. These people are a little bit more difficult. The anxious people know they need help. The avoidants don't. They don't think anything is wrong. They do have anxiety, but it's buried so deep beneath the surface. It is so subconscious, they're not even aware of it, that they're having it. Um, it can be curable, but and you can't, I hate to say curable because it's not like a disease, right? But it's, I don't know, for lack of, that's what I had right now. I don't know, for lack of better terms. Um, they need to become self-aware though. They can't, nobody can heal anything without self-awareness. So they have to become self-aware before they can even heal anything. If you're listening to this, uh, I can tell you if you are somebody who has constantly met the quote crazy woman unquote, or you're somebody who is like, I always attract these clingers into my life and nothing ever works out, and they all these things, and you're attracting those type of people into your life, and it just makes you, there's a good chance you're an avoidant attachment because you're probably attracting the anxiously attached people because they are like moths to a flame, these two people together. So just know that if you are attracting these people, or you're somebody who feels like your relationships never work out, and one of the things with these avoidant people, they will, they will, they find reasons not to like you. So if you're somebody who's like, well, I always meet these women and I like them when I first meet them and they seem really great. And then all of a sudden, like it just goes away and I don't feel that way for them anymore. You're probably an avoidantly attached person. That's just how it works. Okay. So that's just a couple of tips on that because again, these people are they're not self-aware at all. So it takes a lot here. Excuse me, folks. I had a little cough and my dog is kind of barking out there, so I'm sorry if you hear her. Um, so one of the things for these people, is they have to start learning and acknowledging their feelings. That is one of their biggest issues is they suppress their feelings. They don't even acknowledge that they have certain feelings. So again, journaling and meditation, I think is helpful for everything. I think everybody should be meditating. And a little bit about the meditation. I might be creating something there too eventually and maybe create a video for anybody who's interested, or not a video, but like an MP3 meditation. There are multiple meditations on the internet. You can find them on YouTube, you can find them on your app stores. There's lots of guided meditations on YouTube that you can do. There's you can find, just if you just want to sit in silence with yourself, or you can find music all over, you can find different things on your app store or whatever, whether it's Google, whether it's, Android, Apple, all of them have these meditations. Um, so journaling, again, I will mention it because it's helpful for a lot of people. Wasn't a big journaler myself, but it can be very helpful. Especially for probably the avoidant people. I would say journaling for them is probably could be a very important aspect of their healing because again, because they are not aware of what's happening, sometimes just writing them down can help them become aware. So you can start identifying your emotions. Like if you start to feel like you're withdrawing from somebody, you met somebody and things seem to be going really, really well and everything was going great. And all of a sudden you find yourself not as into him or her anymore. Like you're just like, I'm just don't feel as into him or her anymore. You could like really sitting with yourself, whether you're journaling or you're just sitting with yourself. Why do I feel like that? Why do I feel this way? What is going on? What is triggering me? What is causing me to not like this person as much as I once did, and really sit with that because one of the things that avoidant people will do is they will start to blame the other person. So they might try their, again, this is just their ego brain talking, but they're just kind of like, oh, well, I don't like them as much because they did this thing I didn't like, or I'm trying to think of an example, or like sometimes it's very minor, like, well, they snorted when they laughed. Like they were laughing today and they let out a snort and I don't like that. Like literally, like that's how minor these things can be. But the avoidant person will find a way to start withdrawing. Be like, oh, I just don't like them for that. So I hope that made sense to you. But really sitting with yourself and understanding where these emotions are coming from can be extremely, extremely helpful. Uh, you need to challenge this fear of becoming dependent on people, okay? Just because you're letting yourself feel your feelings or you're letting yourself be intimate doesn't mean that you're going to lose your independence. So you need to challenge this fear. You can do this by, again, doing things in a small, micro moment ways, okay? So practice opening up to people that you trust. I'm sure that there might be friends in your life, like people that you could maybe trust a little bit. Practice opening up to them, just little micro. doses, right? It doesn't have to be anything big, just very small increments here. Because honestly, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen if you open up to them? You know, so just practice doing that before, with someone that you really trust. And that can really go a long, long way in developing like intimacy and developing and sharing these feelings. Try to become more present in your relationships. Try to understand how the other person's like feeling a little bit, which is again, I mean, I know it's easier said than done. But try to start noticing again, like when you're withdrawing, like why are you withdrawing from this person? Like when are you withdrawing? Is it happening because you're becoming more intimate? Is it happening because that person is starting to open up to you? This actually happens very commonly. This is very common point when avoidance start to withdraw is again, they used to be going great for weeks, for even months, but once the other person starts to open up a little bit and they start to become very intimate and maybe the other person is even starting to say things like, I'm really starting to care for you, or I feel like I could fall for you, or just it doesn't even have to be that big. Just any time they're starting to open up, then the avoidant person is going to start to withdraw. That's usually the point where it happens. So start noticing, like look back at your previous relationships. And start to look at like when am I withdrawing? Like why am I withdrawing? What is happening? Is it if it's always happening or it tends to be happening right around the time that there's the other person's opening up to you, or oftentimes it could happen because you're starting to get feelings for them. So oftentimes if an avoidant person starts to get feelings for someone, because they do, they can fall in love too, or they start to fall in love. And when that happens, they oftentimes will withdraw. So just really becoming present with that and noticing when that is happening. Um, Start trying to focus on staying engaged and sharing your thoughts. This may become uncomfortable. This is actually going to be very uncomfortable, to be honest, but the best things can happen from being uncomfortable. Honestly, I am starting to really embrace discomfort in my life because oftentimes the best things lie on the other side of that. So start to kind of staying engaged and sharing your thoughts. Again, micro doses here. You don't have to go all in all at once. You can take things slow and you can tell your partner that you want to take things slow. But start just opening up and staying engaged and staying present. Ask your partner how they're feeling, see, get a gauge for like what's going on with them too. Again, understanding your triggers. I think I already kind of went over this one. But why are you pulling away? Is it because you're feeling smothered? Oftentimes that's what's happening. You're feeling smothered, but are you feeling smothered because they're smothering you, which could very well be the case if you have fallen into this anxious avoidant trap. That could be the case. Or is it just that you think you're feeling smothered because your partner is opening up to you more? Um, what are the underlying fears here? Um, Gradual vulnerability. I know I've kind of touched on this already throughout all of these tips, but I can't talk. Vulnerability is just, again, it's just starting to share your feelings and becoming gradual with it with people that you trust. And I know this is kind of the theme with all of the tips for an avoidant person, but it really can make all the difference in the world if you can open up to somebody like a platonic friend that you trust and start sharing those feelings and understanding that you're safe. That can really go a long way before you start opening up to like a partner, like a romantic partner. Okay, let's see here. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Yes, okay. So some other tips. That was pretty much all of the avoidant tips. Again, this is just brushing the surface. There's actually a lot more that we could go into. I could take you through a lot of these modalities and give you actually exercises. I just don't feel like I have enough time in this podcast. If you're interested, or maybe I'll just come up with something later on down the line. We'll see what happens and how many people are really looking for that. But some other tips that can actually be very, very helpful for both types here. Again, just building the trust gradually, letting people show you in small ways that they can be trusted. Again, this is the example that I gave earlier with my friend, about well, actually, this is another example. I'll give you another example here. So, when I have this amazing group of friends that I've met. They're all over the United States right now, and the first one that I met really from that group, we were getting really close, and but I still didn't know whether to trust her, right? I didn't know. This is kind of a silly example, but I'll give it anyway. I really didn't know. Even though I trusted her to an extent, I had been so jaded by people in my life and abandoned so many times. Like I was like, like she's cool, but like who knows, right? We'd only known each other for maybe 6 months. Like it hadn't been that long. Well, one night I used to go to get these readings. I had like this psychic I used to go to. She was amazing. And I would get occasional readings from her. Sometimes she would do them live on TikTok. I had a couple personal things done with her before. And I know again, this is a little bit of a silly example, but just bear with me here. And my friend and me were talking, and I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this reading with her." And just on TikTok Live, So I put myself on the list and got on the list. So I'm waiting, and she says, "Well, do you want me to be here? Do you not want me to be here?" Like she was wanting to make sure like I was comfortable if she was there because we were both like kind of watching her live. She was doing other people's readings, and I said, I really don't care. I said, you can stay if you want to, but you don't have to either way, and then we kind of quit talking and oh my gosh, it took forever. It was literally like, it was like 11:30 at night. I mean, it was late. And so she ends up doing my reading and I just assumed that my friend had gotten off because we hadn't really been talking for a little while and she has children and I know that she goes to bed by like midnight and her kids are going to bed and she's putting them to bed. So, we do the whole reading and I knew she would probably still be awake because it was like 11:30. So I like texted her and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that reading. Like it really resonated or something like that. I don't know. I said something. And she was like, I know, I couldn't believe some of the things she was saying. And I was like, wait, what a minute? Wait, what? And I was like, you were still there? And she was like, well, of course I was. That's what friends are for. I stuck around like just basically to support me, I guess. I don't know. It was just like it was 11:30 at night. And that was the moment for me that I really found myself trusting people again and understanding that people weren't always just going to leave and that people could be trusted. So, and I always had hope. Like I never was completely jaded, but it was kind of getting to the point where like, who can I trust at this point? I don't know. So again, I know it's a silly example, but for me it was huge. And so it doesn't have to be romantic partners, just letting people show you that they can be trusted. And it can be friends, it can be friendships, it can be just platonic. It doesn't have to be relationships, okay? That can really be really helpful. This can go for both types, I think, in general, but especially probably the anxious person more, but even for both types, I think this can be so, so helpful. The last thing I want to say about all of that, honestly, I know this is kind of long. I don't know even how long this is, but the thing that's so important is to celebrate the small wins, no matter what side you fall here, and no matter anything in life, right? Anything in life, always celebrate the small wins, because growth it's a process, not a race, it is a very slow process and slow and steady wins the race, right? So just celebrate these small wins along the way and just understand that everyone's doing the best they can and with some practice and some help along the way and some good support in your life you can get through any of these struggles that you might have been having. You can get earn secure attachment, and if you feel like you don't have a lot of support where you live, if you're, kind of an introvert or maybe live in a very small town like I do, you're just not sure, like that is the beauty of the internet. So I know it's not the same as being in person, and I actually would love to start making more connections in person right now, but the internet can be a beautiful thing, right? You can find groups, you can look for groups on attachment, you can look for spiritual groups, you can pretty much find any group on Facebook that you want to find. And there are so many helpful people in those groups. I mean, my closest friends have actually been found from different groups that I happened to be in on Facebook, and it was like we just connected. So, having a good support system and people around you that you can trust can really help heal your attachment issues. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. This has been a fun episode. And I just want to say thank you to people who are listening. If you are still here, especially after this long podcast episode, and you're still listening to this, I just want to say I'm with you and I love you. And I'm doing this for you guys. Like, I'm doing this because I think that this information can help people, and not just this stuff, but a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming out on these episodes, I think can really resonate with people. And I want to show people they're not alone. And I want to say that we're all in this together, this journey that we call life, and it's a beautiful journey. And I think that we can all be friends and we can all connect and we can just all be there for each other. So thank you if you are still listening to this. I would love it if you would give a review if you like this. You can share it with friends if you think a friend could be interested in these episodes. And leave a review. If you leaving a review, like you can leave like the star, you can like rate it on like the stars, and then you can also like there's a little comment box that'll pop up, and you can write like little reviews in there. It really helps other people find these episodes. It helps like the algorithm on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening, YouTube, all of those. It helps other people find this stuff. So I would really appreciate it. And I love you all so much. And until next time, I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye bye. Mwah.